Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. It's Tuesday evening, the end of January. We're almost through January already. Well, tonight we're going to finish the sales system that we started last week. This is part 2 of how I built 3 $30 million books of business. And I did this with 3 different insurance companies. That didn't come to me. I built it for somebody else. So, and that's one of the reasons why I started my own business is to build that for me. But I want to share with you, especially if you're an SDR, a BDR, or an account executive, this sales system. And because you've taken the time to watch tonight and be with me on both Thursday night last week and tonight, I want to give you the slide deck that you can find in the comment section that you can download so you'll have it to reference back to it. Now, this is the complete sales system that I used in order to build those books of business. But I started thinking last week after the show, I'm going to start today with an email that I've been using in my own business that has had pretty good success. My click-through rate is about 20%, but my open rate on my emails have been hitting anywhere from 40 to 42%. And the average is usually about, less than 20%. So I have a higher average when it comes to my email opening. And I think it has a lot to do with my subject line. That subject line is so critical in an email. So let me go ahead and pull up the deck. And let me take down that banner so it's not in your way. There we go. All right. The subject line, which we didn't go into a whole lot in step or part 1. And I'm really not going to go into it in part 2 because I've done a lot of video on emails and the subject lines. But here, let me give you this tidbit, okay? When you are creating a subject line of an email, that subject line should be so compelling that the receiver wants to actually read that email. Now, I learned this when I took a creative writing class about 10 years ago. The first line of any book has to have such a compelling first sentence that the reader wants to read the next sentence, and then the next sentence, and then the next sentence. And that is the real key when you're creating subject lines for emails. So think about this. Writers will often spend the majority of their time after they've written a book to focus in really laser on that first line of that book, that opening line of that book. Sometimes I've read that authors have stated they have rewritten that first line 15, 20 times. Sometimes as many as 50 different times. They've come up with 50 different first lines. That's how crucial that first line is. So I want you to think about that for a subject line. There's an actual website you can go to called subjectline.com. And the man that created this is on LinkedIn all the time giving advice. He gives really good advice. And now his name is just blanking on me. His first name is Jay. But what you do is you put in your subject line of what you've come up with, and it rates you. It rates you on whether that's a good one or not. And if it isn't, it also will give you suggestions on how you can improve that subject line. So I recommend that you go to that. All right. Now, this is an email template number 2 that I've been using very successfully. Hi, Jim. My name is Christine Harrington with the Savvy Sales Lady coaching firm. You may recall we are connected on LinkedIn. Now, it is so vital that you are being visible on LinkedIn so that when you send an email like that, you'll easily come to mind with the prospect. Now, I've had people email me back and say, "Oh yeah, I really like your post," or, "this, you said this and that made me laugh," something like that, or "I liked your videos." But that's why it's important that you're on LinkedIn every single day, contributing to LinkedIn. Just one post a day is all you have to do, and do some comments on your prospects' posts. Not trying to sell, but yeah, I never thought of it that way, or good post. I really liked how you did X, Y, and Z. Because when you send an email like this, you have become familiar. Now, they may not know you, but you've become familiar with them. So I go on and say, although we've never been formally introduced, we do align in a few areas that may interest you. And then I state the areas. We specialize in cold calling and cold email programs. My team works with your clients to implement a smooth transition. Well, this would go on if I was selling group benefits. My team works with your clients to implement a smooth transition to our ancillary product line, saving time and money. Now, for my business, I would say I work with your sales team to implement training immediately into their everyday sales in order to close more deals. I'm looking to set time to introduce myself and my team to help you with your priorities moving forward in 2025. Do these dates work? And then state 2 dates. Thanks for your reply. Okay. If you're not on LinkedIn, or you're on LinkedIn and you're not doing much, you can't utilize LinkedIn to use something like this. That's why I really, really want to drive home. Man, if I knew how powerful LinkedIn was back in 2012 and 2013 when I was selling group benefits, I would have taken advantage of LinkedIn. But back then, it is nothing like it is now. Nothing like it is now. So I want you to really think about upping your game on LinkedIn so you can connect and use an email like this. Why would this work? Well, because like I said, when you introduce yourself in an email like that, you may recall we are connected on LinkedIn. They're going to probably do one or two things: look you up, or they do recall seeing you on LinkedIn, right? That cold email turns into more of a warm email because you are now a familiar name and face. Okay. So powerful, everyone. All right. Now let's go into slide 12. Let's talk about converting clients. Okay. So, like anything, you've got to be realistic. You have to be realistic about what your closing rate is, how you're going to proceed with converting prospects into clients. My closing rate is fairly high. If I can get in front of them 9 times out of 10, I'll close them. I mean, it really is high. And so my goal is always to get in front of them. When I was in group benefits, it was always to get in front of them. Realistically, I had over 5,000 brokers that I could have worked with, and I had to narrow that down to my top 25 and then to my next level of 50. At one time, I wouldn't do any more than 100. These were the cream of the crop of people I wanted to work with. It's impossible to work with more than that if you want to be effective. So out of the 100, there was a group of 25 that I was always trying to get in front of and always trying to get a meeting with. All right. So, like I said, you have to be realistic. When you've got the person on the phone, you may have cold called them, or this may be a warm call. It may be a lead that's come in that makes it a warm call. You always have to ask to accept the meeting while they're on the phone. So you'll say something like, "Hey, Sarah, I just sent you an invitation since Friday works out best for you. Would you mind go ahead and accepting that meeting invitation so it'll be on your calendar and my calendar as well? I really appreciate that. It's in your inbox right now." And why do you want to do that? Because, first of all, that's a commitment. It gets them on, you get on their calendar. And of course, they're on your calendar, and it starts to move that sale forward. Okay. Here's another rule of thumb that I found was essential, and that is schedule meetings within 48 hours. So if they have agreed, so today is Tuesday. All right. The people that I cold called today that it would accept a meeting from me, I scheduled a meeting no later than Thursday late afternoon. So I got people booked on Wednesday tomorrow and people booked on Thursday morning. I don't ever let it go past 48 hours unless they insist, because maybe they're going out of town or something else is going on. I try never to book it out later than a week, because every hour that ticks talks by, you become less and less of a priority with them. So always strive first for 48 hours unless they absolutely can't do it. Then try not to go any further out than a week. Okay, just a rule of thumb. I have found that if you go any further than that, you're chasing them. They didn't show up, they're canceling, and you're chasing them. All right. Here's another rule of thumb. They've accepted the meeting. So you've agreed on a date and time. They've accepted the meeting. Don't hound them. Don't immediately email them additional information. Do not email. Just, don't send them a reminder on Wednesday. Don't forget our meeting's on Thursday at 2:00. Don't do that. The only thing I suggest that you do is the day of the meeting in the morning at 8 a.m. Send a reminder email as a courtesy, and then attach the agenda that you'll be talking through during that meeting. Okay. That's the only other follow up I want you to do, because you don't want to come across as being pushy and a pest. Okay. I want to tell you a story at this point. I had someone that I was supposed to meet with. He was someone that was selling me his service. And for various reasons, I couldn't meet until 4 days later. I think it happened on a Monday, and I couldn't meet till Friday. From Monday to Friday, I am not kidding you when I tell you this, I received 4 text messages a day and 4 follow-up emails. Hey, Christine, I thought about this and wanted to send this to you. Hey, Christine, don't forget blah, blah, blah. I was so overwhelmed with all of this. By Wednesday, I canceled the meeting. I'm thinking to myself, Lord have mercy, if this is what he's like just leading up to a scheduled meeting, what would it be like to work with this person? So you have to be very, very careful about not overdoing it. And, just be logical. How would you want to be treated? How would you want someone to follow up with you? So that's why if you're today is Tuesday, if you booked a meeting 48 hours later, which is Thursday, you don't need to send anything after the meeting, after your phone call today. You don't need to send anything Wednesday, just Thursday morning, just a courtesy email. Hey, hi, Sarah, just a courtesy email about our upcoming meeting at 2 p.m. Here's an agenda that I think that you'll be interested in. If there's anything you'd like me to add to it, just let me know and I'll update it. That's all you have to do. That's it. Okay. Which takes me to send an agenda that's unique to the prospect about the upcoming meeting only. All right. So, what do I mean unique to prospects? Some salespeople that I have coached have consistently just copied and pasted the agenda from the last prospect that they met with. Don't do that. During the course of the conversation that you initially had, you should have pulled out some things that are unique to that prospect that you can include in that agenda. And you should be thinking along those lines that you're going to assume that they're going to book a meeting with you and you're going to continue the conversation. So your ears are tuned to what's unique about their problems and situations. And you should be asking deeper questions to flush those things out. So when you're sending an agenda, just make it unique based on your conversation that you had. Now, what if they don't accept the invite? Okay. So you might need to flush that out. If they don't, if they're hedging, well, I need to think about this. I'll need to pull in, so and so and so and so. You can handle this in one or two things. You can say something like, "Oh, I completely understand," just so that I know we're on the same page. Tell me what your concerns are about booking the meeting. And then shut up and listen. Or you can take another approach and say, "No, I completely understand. Where do you suggest we go from here?" And then shut up and listen. Sometimes you'll be able to gather information, like he might say or she might say, "Well, I don't know how disruptive this is going to be." And you can say back, "Well, that's a very good concern. And I can understand why that's a concern for you. It's a common concern with my other clients, which is why during our meeting that we'll set up, my implementation team will be coming on that meeting and will give you the next steps of what it'll look like and how they can make this easy and simple for you." Do you see? So an objection, all of a sudden you found out what the real reason is, and you're able to overcome that, manage that by reassuring them that your implementation team will be there with them every step of the way, and they're coming on the meeting to answer their questions. So what you don't want to do is, and you can even say something like, I understand your concerns, and we're probably not there yet to discuss how the implementation is rolling out. But let me suggest this, okay? Since it is a big concern of yours, I'll invite my implementation team on and they can answer any questions and address your concerns. So, how would you like to move forward with that in mind? Right? So you're not trying to um, downplay their concerns. You're embracing their concerns. You're aligning with them to answer their concerns on the upcoming meeting. Okay? I hope that's helpful. So, in the meeting, you're at the meeting, they're on, you've got your team in place, you're talking about on the agenda. Give them a strong hypothetical. All right. And you can say something like, Sarah, I know you had a concern about the implementation and the kind of disruption this is going to cause your department. Let's walk through a hypothetical and then have your implementation team talk about the hypothetical. Now, of course, you've discussed all of this with your AE, or if you're the AE, you've discussed it with the implementation team ahead of time. So you're all on the same page and know how this is all going to unfold and the story you're going to tell. But sometimes using a strong hypothetical will reassure their fears about moving forward. So you might want to try that. And that should say offer how you can help them. Show them how you can help them. The hypothetical is one way. You can use case studies from other clients to show them how this has worked for a business or company that's aligned pretty much the same as this prospect. I've done that quite a bit in my past in group benefits and in my current business. So if I'm talking to someone that's in a similar field, let's say insurance, then I've given the person that I'm talking to, the prospect, a case study of insurance agencies or insurance companies I've worked with to help them on cold calling and cold email. When I was in group benefits, whatever industry the business was in, I would pull in current clients' testimonials of how the implementation went and the case study on how it was all rolled out. So that's a time where you can showcase, which is the third point, how you will work with them. You've got to paint the picture. Paint the picture of how this is all going to work. And of course, how you're going to paint that picture is from all the objections you've managed in the past, you bring those in to your hypothetical to showcase how you'll work with them and to paint the picture to answer all of those objections before they have a chance to even bring them up. You're just going through them one by one and eliminating the fear or the concern. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Then at the very end, ask this simple question. And I alluded to this earlier. Where would you like to go from here? Man, I have had some spelling problems in this deck. My apologies. Where would you like to go from here? That's not Yuled, that's wood. Sorry about that. I was typing fast trying to get it done. Where would you like to go from here? That's an easy and simple way that eliminates any kind of salesy or pushy language, right? Where would you like to go from here? Now that we've talked about everything on how we can help you and we've addressed your concerns, Where would you like to go from here? And just sit back and listen to what they say. It's the easiest way to ask for the sale, no matter what you sell, whether it's a short sales cycle or a very long sales cycle like group benefits. It's a very simple question to ask, and they'll tell you. Believe me, they'll tell you. And sometimes you even learn more information. Okay. Whoops. I meant to hit the slide. So let's talk about process optimization with everything. No matter what you're selling, you should always test. Now, if you don't know what an A/B test is, it just means that you have subject lines that you send to a group of prospects, A, and then a very different subject line that you send to prospects in your list of Bs. So you have your A prospects, your B prospects, and you send them two different subject lines so that you see which one performs the best. I love this. I do this even in my own business. Then you're going to do the same thing for your follow-up sequence. Look at the data on your follow-up sequence. What's your open rates on your follow-up emails? How many are responding to your follow-up emails? You need to track all this data. And if you have a CRM, it can do that for you. If not, then you've got to use it the old-fashioned way. Well, not the real old-fashioned way. And 40 years ago, it was a piece of paper and a pencil. But now you can track it either on an Excel spreadsheet or you can track it in your CRM. You also want to track your objection responses. This is so important because this will help determine, is there something you're missing in your presentations? Is there something you're missing at your meetings that you keep getting the same objections all the time? This is a really important area to keep track of so that you can eliminate those objections up front. All right. Then your email content. You want to test your email content. So your prospects in the A group, you're going to send a certain email content. Your prospects in B, you're going to send something slightly different. It basically has the same information, but you're going to write it in a different tone and in a different sequence. So I also do testing on this as well. I did that back in my group benefit days because there was a point where it's like, why isn't anybody opening my emails and responding to my emails? So I started doing testing on different emails and I found out exactly why people weren't opening my emails or responding. And that test really helped me quite a bit. So I want to encourage you to do that. Now, I know this is a lot more work, but believe me, it will pay off because it'll save you time in the future when you can get real clear about what your prospects prefer to see from you than just throwing, as I say, spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, right? You don't want to be that sales rep. And the same thing with your calling scripts. I test calling scripts all the time. All the time. I'm this person that wakes up at 3 a.m. with an idea. And so I get out of bed, I scribble it down, and then the next day that I cold call, I try it. And I see, is this working? Is it not working? So that's exactly what I'm looking at all the time. And I did that in group benefits too. All right. As I said in the test, you're going to track all your data. I know it's a pain, but you'll be glad that you start doing this. What's your email performance? What's your calling performance? What's it like? What's your performance like working with certain AEs? Larger companies have segmented so much that SDRs, BDRs are working with certain AEs based on the products that they may be selling. I never had to go through that world. Thank God I never had to go through that world, because I think the way that SDRs and BDRs and AEs are all separated now are a disadvantage, because AEs do not know they do not know how to develop business, and SDRs and BDRs don't know how to close the sale because the AEs are closing the business. So, I did it from start to finish. And so thankful that I was in that world when AEs were doing it all, because I'll tell you what, it taught me a lot. All right. Prospects timeline in the sales process. How many times have you gone in or you've thought, well, gee whiz, I forgot about XYZ prospect. You should be going through your prospect timeline in the sales process at least 2 times a week. Don't let it go out 2 or 3 weeks before it dawns on you to look at the prospects and where are they at in the sales process. When it goes out too far, what happens is you lose them in the cracks, right? They just become out of sight, out of mind. So make sure you're looking at those timelines in the sales process. I actually did this every single day in the group benefits world. I did not ever want, I had it happen one time. Let me take a drink. I had it happen one time where a prospect slipped through the cracks. And this is so embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you the story. I told the story on LinkedIn. And after that, man, I got real clear where my schedule was. I got real clear where every single prospect was in that sales process every single day. I showed up at a meeting, checked in with the receptionist, and she said, Christine, we had you down for last Wednesday. I think it was last week for the meeting. You didn't show up. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed. Don't let that happen to you. And that night, after I put my son to bed, I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself. And it was like, okay, Christine, are you going to get serious about this? And I did. I got real serious about it. The other thing you want to track is how many no's do you have versus yeses? Why is this important? So this is the beginning of the year. So I highly recommend you start tracking this now, because after seeing this sales system, you may want to be changing things, and you may want to track, are you improving, getting yeses, or are you disintegrating and getting more no's? So I highly suggest that you track the no's versus yes and see if you're improving, and track it over the entire year. And then every single quarter, what I would recommend is that you look at that statistic every single quarter. Has your no's gone up or has your yeses gone up? And then if your no's have gone up, then look deeper and see what's causing this. What are you doing? Look at what it is that's causing those no's to rise. Then if your yeses are up, look and see, well, what's working? Remember, I said in another video, you should always ask yourself at the end of the day, what worked and what didn't work about your sales day. Same thing with the no's versus the yeses. Track that this year since we're starting the big, since it's January, start tracking that and see if you can improve those yeses. Okay. That's a challenge. All right. Well, I want to thank you for watching. And if you'll stay on for just a little bit longer, I have a special announcement to make. But I also want to encourage you to download this entire deck, 14 pages here that I made for you. Please pardon the spelling that I messed up on. Download the whole thing. I put the link in the comment section, and stay till the end because I've got a special announcement for you. Okay, here we go. I'm like you, a regular salesperson who bumped up against trying to cold call and failed, trying to close deals and failed, getting all tongue-tied when asking for the sale. Major fail. I've been in sales for 4 decades and I've failed a lot. Think about this. I've had 40 years of rejection hitting me in the face. But in spite of all the rejection, I built 3 $30 million books of business over a 40-year time span. Not 1, but 3. How did I do this? I cracked the code for cold calling. Over the past 11 years, I have coached and trained hundreds of salespeople just like you on my cold calling system. But hey, why should you listen to me? Here's why.
Hi, this is Olivia Mitchell with Crouching Tigers. I hired Christine to cold call for my company, and she was able to sell 26 accounts in 9 days. I actually had to ask her to put the brakes on it as we needed to hire more staff. You will definitely benefit from Christine's course.
And there are many more testimonials. Drop the word coach in the comments below, and I'll send you a link to schedule a free coaching session. And I'll share a few of my cold calling techniques that you can use immediately. Cold calling doesn't need to feel embarrassing. I can give you the words to use, plus the technique and the system, so you'll feel and sound like a professional. Why not learn a few powerful but simple tips to help you close sales? Type coach in the comment section below, and I'll reply with the link so you can book a time that's best for you to schedule your 30-minute free coaching session. That's all you need to do to begin winning again. Stay savvy.